Number 1. Jar Jar's Dark Secret. Buckle up, because we're starting with the most infamous theory in Star Wars history, Jar Jar Binks as a secret Sith Lord. Before you roll your eyes, hear this out. Ahmed Best, Jar Jar's actor, confirmed that deleted scenes show deeper connections between the Gungan and Palpatine. Think about it. Jar Jar's clumsy acrobatics during the Battle of Naboo looked suspiciously like Force-enhanced combat. His perfectly timed stumbles always seemed to eliminate battle droids with uncanny precision. The smoking gun? Jar Jar literally handed Palpatine emergency powers in Attack of the Clones. One bumbling speech to the Senate, and democracy dies to thunderous applause. George Lucas originally planned something much darker for Jar Jar, and while fan backlash forced a rewrite, the breadcrumbs remained scattered throughout the prequels. Watch Jar Jar's subtle manipulations again. They're too convenient to be accidents. His ability to influence Senator Amidala's decisions, his mysterious survival rate in dangerous situations, and his uncanny political timing all point towards something far more sinister than simple comic relief. The theory suggests Lucas embedded a master manipulator in plain sight, hidden behind bumbling antics and slapstick humor. Number 2. Palpatine's ultimate manipulation. Here's a theory that'll make your skin crawl. Palpatine orchestrated Shmi Skywalker's brutal death. Think about the timing. Just as Anakin's experiencing his first serious relationship troubles and Jedi responsibilities, his mother gets captured by Tusken Raiders. The future Emperor needed Anakin consumed by rage and fear, and what better catalyst than maternal loss? While never explicitly confirmed in canon, this theory aligns perfectly with Palpatine's established manipulation tactics. He spent years positioning himself as Anakin's father figure while systematically destroying every other emotional anchor in the young Jedi's life. The Tusken Massacre wasn't just Anakin's first step toward the dark side, it was a carefully orchestrated tragedy designed to break his moral compass. Count Dooku's presence on Tatooine around this time makes the theory even more chilling. Palpatine had the means, motive, and opportunity to engineer Shmi's fate through his apprentices' network. Consider how perfectly Shmi's death served Palpatine's long-term goals. It isolated Anakin from his past, filled him with murderous rage, and created the first crack in his Jedi training. The psychological manipulation was masterful. Palpatine offered comfort while secretly orchestrating the very trauma that drove Anakin into his arms. Ready to dive deeper into the rabbit hole? These theories are just getting started, and some of the wildest revelations are still ahead. Subscribe and hit that notification bell, because we're about to uncover secrets that will completely change how you see the saga. Number 3. Mace Windu lives. Samuel L. Jackson refuses to accept Mace Windu's death, and honestly, he's got a compelling argument. Getting electrocuted and thrown out a window sounds fatal, but this is Star Wars. Darth Maul survived being cut in half and falling down a reactor shaft. George Lucas reportedly never definitively ruled out Mace's survival, leaving the door tantalizingly ajar for future storytelling possibilities. The evidence supporting survival is stronger than you might think. No body was ever recovered from Coruscant's depths, and in Star Wars, that's practically a guarantee of survival. Mace was one of the most powerful Jedi Masters in galactic history, skilled enough to defeat Palpatine in single combat before Anakin's interference. His mastery of Vapad, the aggressive lightsaber form that channels dark side energy without succumbing to it, could have provided the mental fortitude needed to survive those crucial moments. Picture this: a scarred, exiled Mace Windu, stripped of his council position but not his connection to the Force, watching the galaxy burn while planning his eventual return. The theory gains substantial weight when you consider how many dead characters have returned in recent Star Wars content. Mace's survival would be surprising, but hardly unprecedented in a universe where death rarely sticks. Number 4. Obi-Wan's forbidden love. Prepare for emotional devastation. Obi-Wan Kenobi and Padmé Amidala shared forbidden romantic feelings that neither could openly acknowledge. Rewatch their interactions in the prequels with this lens, and suddenly every meaningful glance carries new weight. Obi-Wan's gentleness with Padmé, his protective instincts that extend beyond duty, and their obvious mutual respect hint at something deeper than friendship or political alliance. The theory reaches its devastating peak during Anakin's confrontation on Mustafar, when he screams, "You're with him!" At Padmé, maybe it wasn't just jealous paranoia. Maybe Anakin sensed an emotional truth his master and wife had tried desperately to suppress. Obi-Wan's devastation at Padmé's death becomes intensely personal, adding another layer of guilt to his already overwhelming burden over Anakin's fall. This forbidden connection would explain why Obi-Wan understood Anakin's attachment struggle so intimately. He was fighting the same internal battle, just more successfully. The theory transforms Anakin's fall from simple jealousy into a complex web of betrayal and unspoken desires, making his turn to the dark side even more heartbreaking. It suggests that even the most disciplined Jedi struggled with the very emotions they were taught to suppress, adding human complexity to their seemingly perfect moral code. Number 5. The Endor Catastrophe. The Ewok celebration at the end of Return of the Jedi might be the most tragically ironic scene in Star Wars history. Physics tells us that when the Death Star exploded, massive chunks of superheated debris would have rained down on Endor's forest moon like a cosmic apocalypse. Fans have dubbed this nightmare scenario the Endor Holocaust, and the mathematical projections are terrifyingly convincing. A battle station the size of a small moon doesn't just vanish when it explodes. It becomes billions of tons of flaming wreckage following gravitational trajectories. The Death Star's proximity to Endor means most debris would be pulled directly into the moon's atmosphere, creating impact events comparable to massive asteroid strikes. The resulting firestorms, atmospheric disruption, and nuclear winter effects would devastate the moon's ecosystem. Those cheerful Ewok drums? They're essentially playing funeral dirges for their entire species. The theory reframes the rebellion's greatest victory as an accidental genocide, adding a dark environmental twist that makes the Empire's final defeat feel pyrrhic. It's the kind of unintended consequence that perfectly captures war's brutal reality, even in a galaxy far, far away. The celebration becomes a tragic moment of innocence before inevitable doom, transforming a joyful ending into something deeply bittersweet. Number 6. Finn's hidden power. Finn's journey from stormtrooper to hero makes perfect sense when you realize he's Force-sensitive, a connection that explains his entire character arc. The evidence has been hiding in plain sight across the sequel trilogy, waiting for fans to connect the dots. How else would FN2187 break through First-Order conditioning that successfully brainwashed millions of other child soldiers? His innate resistance to mental manipulation screams Force sensitivity. J.J. Abrams confirmed that Finn's urgent message to Rey on Exegol concerned his newfound Force abilities, later supported by the official novelization. Throughout the films, Finn demonstrated classic Force-sensitive traits. Sensing Rey's emotions across vast distances, surviving impossible odds through intuitive decision-making, and wielding a lightsaber against Kylo Ren without formal training. His natural leadership abilities and capacity to inspire others suggest a deep connection to the living Force. John Boyega's passionate performance gains new depth when viewed through this theoretical lens. Finn wasn't just finding his courage or discovering his identity, he was awakening to his true destiny as a Force user. His evolution from mindless soldier to inspiring leader reflects the Force's influence guiding him toward his higher purpose. The theory adds weight to his character development and explains his seemingly impossible acts of heroism throughout the trilogy. Number 7. Leia's secret knowledge. When Leia tells Luke, "Somehow I've always known," about their sibling connection, she might be revealing the galaxy's best-kept secret. She figured it out long before the dramatic revelation. This theory suggests Leia's Force sensitivity allowed her to subconsciously recognize their familial bond from their very first meeting aboard the Death Star. Her instant trust in Luke, their natural chemistry during dangerous situations, and her emotional devastation at his potential death all make more sense through this theoretical framework. The uncomfortable kiss with Luke transforms from awkward romantic subplot into psychological complexity. Leia using physical intimacy to suppress confusing feelings she couldn't consciously understand or interpret. Her Force abilities, while undeveloped and untrained, were apparently strong enough to sense their deep connection, but not clear enough to provide proper context. This theory adds fascinating layers to Carrie Fisher's nuanced performance, suggesting Leia was fighting internal confusion and conflicted emotions throughout the original trilogy. When she finally learns the truth about their parentage, it's not a shocking revelation that changes everything. It's confirmation of what her heart and intuition already knew. The Force had been whispering their connection all along, but she lacked the training to properly interpret its guidance until Luke's confession provided the missing context. Number 8. R2's greatest secret. George Lucas once revealed that the entire Star Wars saga is actually R2-D2's memoir, recorded in the legendary Journal of the Whills decades after the events concluded. This meta-theory explains every narrative convenience, perspective shift, and impossible camera angle throughout the films. R2 wasn't just present for key moments. He was actively documenting them for future generations of historians and storytellers. This framework brilliantly explains how we witness private conversations between characters R2 never observed, dramatic camera angles from impossible positions, and detailed knowledge of events occurring simultaneously across the galaxy. The little astromech's perfect timing and remarkable survival rate make sense when you realize he's the story's ultimate narrator and chronicler. His selective editing explains why certain characters receive more focus while others remain mysteriously underdeveloped. R2's beeps and whistles become a sophisticated storytelling device, with C-3PO serving as translator and running commentary. The theory transforms every film from objective historical documentation into subjective memoir, filtered through the perspective of the galaxy's most traveled and beloved droid. It suggests that what we're watching isn't raw footage but carefully curated storytelling, complete with dramatic embellishments and emotional emphasis designed to convey the saga's deeper meaning to future audiences seeking to understand this pivotal period in galactic history. Number 9. Anakin's true father. The most disturbing theory in Star Wars suggests Palpatine didn't just manipulate Anakin's fall. He created Anakin himself through dark side manipulation of the Force. The Darth Vader comics show a haunting vision of Palpatine's shadowy presence during Anakin's conception, though Lucasfilm insists this represents symbolic manipulation rather than literal biological intervention. Still, the theory persists because it fits Palpatine's character and methods perfectly. Darth Plagueis supposedly learned to influence midichlorians to create life, and who better to inherit this forbidden knowledge than his ambitious apprentice? Palpatine's obsessive interest in Anakin from childhood, his uncanny knowledge of Anakin's dreams and fears, and his distinctly paternal manipulation take on sinister new meaning if he's literally Anakin's creator through Force manipulation. This theory makes Anakin's fall even more tragic. He wasn't just seduced by evil. He was potentially designed for it from conception. The Emperor's final defeat becomes poetic justice, as his artificial son ultimately destroys him in a moment of redemption. While canon keeps Anakin's virgin birth origins deliberately mysterious, this theory adds mythological weight to the Chosen One prophecy. It suggests that even prophecies can be corrupted, and that the Force itself might be vulnerable to manipulation by those powerful enough to bend its will. Number 10. The Droid Conspiracy. Obi-Wan Kenobi absolutely recognized R2-D2 and C-3PO in A New Hope, and his feigned ignorance was pure strategic deception worthy of a master spy. When he claims not to remember owning a droid, he's technically telling the truth. He never owned them personally. But his careful wording mirrors his masterful deception about Vader betraying and murdering Anakin Skywalker, proving his skill at selective truth-telling. Think about his behavior patterns. He shows no surprise at R2's holographic message, easily accepts the droid's presence without suspicion, and trusts them implicitly throughout the dangerous rescue mission. A hermit living in isolation for decades wouldn't naturally bond with strange droids unless he knew their reliability from extensive shared experience during the Clone Wars. Obi-Wan's recognition explains his immediate trust and emotional investment in their mission's success. He maintained his cover identity while leveraging familiar allies, demonstrating the strategic thinking that made him such an effective Jedi general. The theory adds another layer to Alec Guinness's brilliantly nuanced performance, suggesting every interaction was carefully calculated. His I don't seem to remember ever owning a droid, becomes a masterclass in misdirection rather than simple forgetfulness, proving that even in exile, Obi-Wan remained a formidable tactician who understood the value of keeping useful secrets. Number 11. Vader's destined redemption. Anakin's redemption wasn't a last-minute change of heart driven by paternal love. It was destiny unfolding exactly as the Force intended across decades of careful manipulation. This theory suggests every tragedy in Anakin's life, from his mother's brutal death to his own fall and transformation into Vader, was orchestrated by cosmic forces to create the perfect catalyst for Palpatine's eventual destruction. The Force needed someone powerful enough to infiltrate the Sith hierarchy and motivated enough to destroy them completely when the moment arrived. Luke's presence on the Death Star wasn't mere coincidence. It was the culmination of a decades-long plan requiring precise timing and emotional manipulation. Anakin's suffering gave him the inner strength to resist Palpatine's influence when it mattered most, while his love for Luke provided the emotional trigger necessary for his return to the light side. The theory reframes Anakin's fall as necessary sacrifice rather than personal failure, making his redemption feel cosmically inevitable rather than surprising. Every dark deed, every moment of despair, every act of violence served the larger purpose of ensuring galactic freedom from Sith tyranny. It transforms Vader from villain into unwitting hero of destiny, suggesting that even the darkest paths can serve the light when guided by the Force's mysterious will. Number 12. Leia's superior strength. Princess Leia possessed Force abilities that potentially exceeded Luke's raw power, but she deliberately channeled them into leadership and political strategy rather than combat applications. Her intuitive political instincts, supernatural ability to inspire unwavering loyalty, and uncanny tactical awareness all demonstrate Force sensitivity focused on influence and guidance rather than physical manifestation. Where Luke lifted X-Wings and battled Sith Lords, Leia moved entire civilizations and shaped galactic politics. Her training with Luke between Return of the Jedi and The Last Jedi revealed abilities that had remained dormant for decades, waiting for the right moment to emerge. The scene where she saves herself in the vacuum of space isn't surprising when viewed through this lens. It's the first time we see her true potential unleashed without restraint. Leia chose diplomacy over warfare, making her arguably the more mature and complete Force user. Her strength lay in building lasting alliances, reading complex political situations, and maintaining hope during the galaxy's darkest hours. This theory suggests the Skywalker legacy lived more fully through Leia's inclusive vision of peace than Luke's isolated hermitage on Ahch-To. She became the true inheritor of Anakin's heroic potential, using her power to unite rather than divide, to build rather than destroy. The Force works in mysterious ways, and these theories prove that Star Wars fans are the galaxy's greatest detectives. Which theory blew your mind the most? Drop your thoughts in the comments, share this video with fellow theorists, and may the Force be with you on your next adventure through the Star Wars universe.